Good morning, Lily.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm excited. We have a special guest today, Kristin McGee, who's a world-renowned Pilates instructor and yoga instructor, an old friend of mine, I've known her for years, and also a single parent. So she's here today to talk about how to stay fit while being a crazed single parent, which of course begs the question,
did I work out this morning? The answer is no. I even made my son move everything out of the way because I work out in the living room and he has Legos everywhere. And I made him clean it up. I was so strict with him. I'm move it all out of the way. And then he moved everything. And then I didn't do it.
I mean, A for effort.
Is that an A for We're going to be talking to someone today who would not give that an A for effort. She would give that a B for bullshit.
I mean, I feel like mentally preparing it's half the battle. It's half the battle.
Is it? We both need this.
Can I tell you the thing that I've thought about, as we're preparing to talk to Kristin today? It's the amount of forgiveness you have to have for yourself when you don't do something one time doesn't mean you're not going to do it again in the future. So I forgive you.
All right. Well,
that's not your fail.
Let's get into it.
But I forgive you.
It's not my fail. We have another fail. Yeah, let's get this show started.
I'm Lily, single mom to teen twins.
Father!
I'm recording in here.
And I'm Scott, single dad to a preteen boy.
Dad!
It's under the sink!
We're two old friends trying to navigate single parenting.
And spending the whole time thinking, I hope I don't fuck this up.
So we have as our guest today, Kristin McGee, former Pilates instructor, yoga mentor to the world, and fitness queen. I've known her a long time, and she's always someone that I have looked up to. She is this amazing way of bringing sort of light and positivity to other people. She's a great motivator. And so I was very excited. I invited her on, and for some bizarre reason, she must have been drunk. She said yes. And so she is here with us today. Kristin, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. I love how you said I was a former Pilates instructor. I still teach Pilates, but I was a former Peloton instructor. And I did teach Pilates and meditation and yoga and pre-postnatal and a bunch of stuff on the Peloton platform, but I'm still teaching all of those off the platform. So wonderful to be here. And I love that you created the space to work out this morning. And at least you set the intention. Maybe that space will still be clear after this, and you'll be able to jump down on the floor and do some ab work or something with me.
And I think important for everybody to know too, Kristin is also part of our single parent demographic. So she understands some of the struggles.
That's right. So I have, as we often mention, I have a almost 11-year-old boy. Lily has 17-year-old twins, boy and a girl. Kristin, what kids do you have? What are your kids?
I had no idea Lily has twins as well. I have 11. I love that. Yes, I have an 11-year-old and 7-year-old twins, and they're all boys. And so for me, I usually get up around 5:45 and I do a meditation, and I did my yoga practice this morning before they all woke up, which is really the only time I can sneak in my workouts these days. But I know not everyone loves to wake up at 5 a.m.
I don't know. I went to bed at 5 a.m.
I went to bed at 5 a.m.
I'm not even joking.
On Netflix last night.
I went to bed at 5 a.m. So as you were starting up, I was winding down. Well, we're going to start off talking about our parenting fails of the week, because I feel like I need a little bit of forgiveness. And please, Kristin, if you have one, we are happy to forgive. Lily's especially good at forgiving. Well, mine is rough. It's a rough one in that it's sometimes the hard thing when you're dating somebody new who has kids is you have to remind yourself that your son is going to be threatened by that your children will be threatened by that. And my son has definitely been a little threatened by me dating. I've been dating my girlfriend for a little over a year, and she's got 2 kids, and she has one kid that's very close to my son in age, but her son is ODD, which is oppositional. It's you take the oppositional position, and you try to get attention through negativity and negative actions and stuff. When he acts out, you have to treat it differently. You can't punish him the way you would punish somebody else, because he wants that. That's positive reinforcement. That's attention. So instead, you have to ignore everything that he does, which is very difficult to do as an adult and almost impossible to do as a 10-year-old.
Right.
And so we were out at Stu Leonard's, and he called my son something really mean. And he did it to get a response. And I was told not to react, so I didn't react. And I did everything you're supposed to do for him. And then when we got home, my son was so mad at me. He's like, why didn't you back me up? Do you care about, their kids more than me? And he was 100% right, because the bit that I was so busy trying to do something that I'm supposed to do for my girlfriend's son, that I forgot that from his point of view, he just sees himself not being defended. We talked about it and went over everything, and we're in a better place now. But that was, I felt awful. Like, you get so solicitous of your new partner's kids and their affections that you can sometimes forget about your own.
Not only that, but I think it's often easier to be neutral about somebody else's kid, even if it wasn't your girlfriend. Like, the kind of response that you give is sometimes more level and metered, and like doing that to somebody else's kid and maybe reacting to that kid in a different way. It's hard for your own kid to be like, wait, if I did that, you would have totally yelled at me. What the hell?
Yeah. It drives him crazy, because her son curses a lot. That's part of his thing. And he does it to get a reaction. So Lily's kind of like you.
Yeah. Sailor mouth like me.
Sailor mouth like you. But I don't allow cursing in my house, and I don't let my son curse. And so he's like, how come he used the F word? I'm not allowed to use the F word. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're not allowed to use the F word. So it's also the different rules for different people.
Like you said, if what you try to do afterwards, like, I'm so proud of him for bringing it up to you instead of just seething with rage, which is what I would have done as a child. But also bringing it up for you and then you talking about it. I think it's hard. Like, it's I'm sure it was hard for him, but there is, different people will get treated differently and need to be treated differently in this world. And like, that's not a lesson to protect him from either. I'm sure it hurt, but like, there's nothing I think that you could have done better other than try to like fix it in the moment or explain to him outside of the context of the situation, which you did.
Well, it was the immediacy, I think, was the bit where I think I messed up. He had to bring it up to me. And honestly, for anyone with kids out there, most kids would not. I mean, my son's been in therapy because of our divorce for a long time now. So he has a few tools that a lot of kids don't have, but I should have immediately put it into context for him, and I didn't.
What will you do differently the next time this happens? Because surely it will happen again.
It happens all the time. What am I going to do? That's a good question.
I know.
Damn, Lily,
we'll let you think about that.
Let me think about that.
But in the meantime, I think that you're totally forgiven. Like, it's we do the wrong thing in the moment all the time. But like we've said, like time and time again, like being able to repair it, being able to address it after the fact, doing it calmly, like having that kind of rational conversation about it, like that is the parenting win. Like, you didn't fail there.
Thank you. It always feels good. It's funny. Like, I put this in because I'm like, oh, what a fun format. And then every time I get forgiven, I feel better. It's funny.
True.
Yeah. No, it really does help. That's why I always encourage, like, this is something that's good in your, like, for our listeners in your groups that you're in. Hopefully you're in some kind of support, whether it's your friends, whether it's a Facebook group, whatever it is. Like, don't be afraid to peel away and say these things that you may feel awful about, because it drains it when other people put into perspective for you. Like,
Scott always wants to fix everybody, so that's his tip. But I think this is a good example of the combination. Like, you want to forgive people, and I think that just hearing other people's being in the same situation is the thing that makes you feel better. So like, you're totally right. Like, that talking about it helps.
Well, let's hear. So Lily or Kristin, if you have something you want to get off your chest.
Well, I think it's a similar thing. I feel what you were saying with your girlfriend's son or this. I have twins, and one is very boisterous and very strong. And so if he defends himself, it's always like 10 times worse than his brother, who is a little more chill, but he actually still does incite his brother as well. So it's like, I tend to end up unfortunately yelling more at my, it's like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, like the one who ends up actually hurting the other more, because he's just stronger and he just flat out like, boom, you're going to take this, I'm going to boom. Where the other one will try and slap him, and it's still bad because he's slapping him and he shouldn't, but it doesn't hurt or sting the way the other one. So it's like I have to be very good at trying to like mediate the two and hearing both of their sides and disciplining the one as much as the other, so that, because he was like, you love him more than me, you're always yelling at me, and I felt so bad. And I'm like, no, I love you all equally. There's no way I could love anyone more than anyone else. And I'm sorry that I end up over-faulting him. It's hard because usually, unfortunately, it's the other one who gets hurt worse just because of the way they're built and their strengths. And, so it's like really also trying to catch it before it happens. Like I'll hear it and I'll see it start to bubble. And I'm like, dang, why didn't I get there in time to, cool the fire? But it's really hard.
That's so exhausting.
You said you have 2 sets of twins or 1 set of twins? Sorry.
They have an older brother. So they're 11-year brother and then the 2 boy twins. So it's all boys. It's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And they do really well. I think they really don't fight especially as much as they used to. They've gotten really good at communicating, but unfortunately, when they do, the one is so much stronger than the other that it kind of becomes like, not so good.
Well, and the thing you don't think about when you're a single parent, it's like you usually have someone who can maybe point this out to you or can like back you up on it. And instead, all that mental energy of second guessing yourself or trying, like you were saying, like I like you're always allowed to not do it perfectly and not like, catch yourself beforehand and stuff. Cause I feel like that it's like, how did I not know? Why didn't I prepare correctly? It's like,
yes,
who has the energy to be able to like perfectly prepare for your interactions every day? Like,
or mind read or anticipate every single thing. Like and you doubly got the numbers. Like we've got 1, 2, and 3 kids. And I feel like at 2, I'm just okay at like being a referee. I can't imagine the numbers with 3.
How do you deal? 3 boys? Like, is this why you're exercising all the time? So do you have the physical strength to handle 3 boys?
And I'm super lucky because I noticed that, when we were talking about working out and mental and physical health, they help me stay on top of my game, because even on the days when I might not get in as much of my formal exercise as I would like to, they were in a 1-mile run yesterday and I did the run with them, or they love to like go in the backyard and kick a soccer ball, or when we go to the playground, I'm like trying to do pull-ups with them. And Robert's always like, why can't you do a pull-up, Mom? Let me show you how, So I think it's like they keep me also physically active, which is great.
Yeah. We used to say about ours when they were like toddlers, we needed to get them outside and run them like dogs, because they just needed the like for their mental health and for ours. They just need we need to get it out.
No, you gotta. For some reason, my son isn't quite like as he'll play Minecraft all day long and it's fine. I don't know why. Okay. Yeah, I don't have the same issue, but maybe because he's an only child and he doesn't have anyone to feed off but my slacker ass energy. But I don't know how you guys, I mean,
he just has a calm demeanor. It's just a different person.
You say I have a calm demeanor?
Not you, no.
Not me.
Yes.
I'm freaking out left and right. No, he has a calm demeanor.
I get along well with my older son.
Yeah.
My older son's a little more that way as well. He loves to do video games. He'll be active, but it's not as innate with him as it is with my twins.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure those twins, like the energy feeds off each other.
That energy is crazy.
It's just so exhausting. I don't envy either of you. Yeah, and you're like, yes, thank you. Preach, represent.
It really is. So speaking of the, having remove all the Legos and then create a space for you to work out, where do you think you missed that opportunity to actually do, say, 5 or 10 minutes? Was it like you were just like, nah, I really don't want to? Was it a time thing? Do you think it's more of a mental obstacle, or?
I have an answer. I have a similar thing. I normally, like what I do in the morning is like I get up earlier so I can, unless I do something early, it's not going to get squeezed into the rest of the day because I get more tired as the day goes on. So I also like wake up. I do a super long walk in the morning before I even get to work. And like that gets my head straight, which is the one thing that I've been able to maintain over the past like 8 or 10 years is like super walking. But on weekends, like today, we took the kids out to a movie last night and we were up until 1 a.m. and I knew we had this and I set my alarm for early enough that I could get up and like get in a short, something beforehand before I sat down again. But I always choose sleep over anything else. Like if I have to, like if my day isn't built so that I have to do it now or it's not going to get done, I will often choose rest I know I feel like kind of lazy to admit that, but that's what it is for me.
No, and I'm going to forgive you now for that because that is not a fail. I often think that people forget that, rest is actually part of your workout regimen. If you don't have built-in rest days, your body's just going to, get too fatigued, and you definitely need sleep to recover. Yeah. So sleep is part of your wellness tools. I think that sleep is extremely important. And maybe that was Scott's problem even this morning. Like if you went to bed at 5 a.m. and you're up at 8 and you only had 3 hours of sleep, then that place on the floor, whether it's clear or not, is never going to be inviting because your body's just going to be like, dude, I am tired. Yeah. So it might just be for you, like trying to set your bedtime back, start with 30 minutes every night until you get back to like a little bit more of a normal bedtime routine, because then that routine will set you up for having more energy, and then you have more energy, you're able to work out. And when you work out, you actually sleep better. So it's like this nice cycle that you set yourself up for success. So I think the sleeping in when you need to is not an end all be all, but I also do think it's nice to try and, if you have a consistent bedtime, wake time, workout schedule during the week, then you're doing great. You're doing that during the week. You're waking up, you're walking. Give yourself a little grace on the weekend.
As you work with people and try to help them manage, I know you work with people directly, but I'm sure you help them set up scheduling and stuff like that. Especially, I know you have celebrity clients and stuff like that, people that have to do it, and sometimes when you have to do it, it becomes the chore. And like, how do you instill the want to do it versus the have to do it? Because we all know we have to do it, but how do you transform that into I want to do it?
Oh, very good question. Because for me, seriously, I want to work out. Like, I love it. I look forward to it. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite time of the day. If I could have more time to do it even, I would. And I think it's maybe I've started to really I've built such a long time practice that I am very intuitive about what my body needs and wants. And so it feels good every time I do it. Like, I don't force myself to go on a run on the days that I'd prefer to do yoga. But like, to your point, I know that a couple days a week, I should probably get some cardio in. So those are the days that I have to psych myself up more, but afterwards I always feel better. So I think I try and meet my clients where they're at and listen to what it is that really makes them feel good. So it becomes more of a treat and less of a chore. And then build in just those extra. It's like, even at home, we always have those chores where we have to clean the house, we have to do the laundry, the things we don't really love. But as long as you're treating yourself with things in addition to it that make you feel good, then you just work it into your schedule. You work it into your life.
Well, I will say for me, like there's throughout my whole life, those like exercises or workouts or things that I did because like that was like the trendy thing. But it wasn't until like I found that like I can easily walk for like 5 to 10 miles a day. And like, it's something that I can maintain. But the reason that I started is because I was starting to it was the year I turned 40. We had like, family health crisis. My marriage was like starting to crack. And I thought, if I don't do something, I'm going to have to go on medication. Not that anything is wrong with going on medication, but what I wanted to try first was like to change some things about my life. And it truly is as like, I'm not you. Like, I am not the lady who like looks forward to exercising or like, gets out, like excited about it. But the thing that happened when I started working out and like prioritizing, like, how does this make me feel? It genuinely is like, I posted a meme the other day about the workout girls are right again. When you exercise and your mental health feels better and your body feels better, like it sucks. But like, it's fun. Like that's what happened for me, is that now I look at it as like I am doing this for like the fitness of my body and more so the fitness of my brain, because it was life altering.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, because I feel like once people start to find the intrinsic value behind movement as opposed to the external results, you're much more likely to stick with it. When you start to keep tabs of your mental state, how you feel, is your mood, better? Are you sleeping better? Do you start to eat better naturally because your body is just craving healthier foods? So all those intrinsic things that you feel good, as opposed to like, oh, do my jeans fit better? Do I look like this? Like you kind of have to stop comparing the outside and do it for the inside. Like, it's working in as opposed to working out.
Totally.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, it's funny because like, I didn't work out for a long time until, I worked out in my 20s. we worked together back when I was in my 20s. And so that was probably the last time I did work out. And then when I got, separated and started to get divorced, that was like when the impetus to change things, just like with you, Lili. And it's interesting that for single parents or parents that are people that going through divorce, it's such a way to take control of your life that is out of control. And like, we talked about this being physical and mental, and they are the same. They are this is a mental health need. And it's funny, I didn't realize how important it was to my mental health until I started doing it. And it took me a while to really do it regularly until I had a girl make me, which is really how you get me to do anything. And what was funny was that, and Kristin, this story, but like, I started dating this woman who like follows Peloton direct, every day. She goes and does something every day. She's like, so you come do it with me. And I'm like, all right, that's great. And then I turn it on and who do I see but Kristin doing yoga. Yeah. And I hadn't talked to you in maybe like 6 or 7 years, maybe. Yeah. And there you are doing, and I'm like, oh, look, it's Kristin. And my girlfriend was like, you know Kristin? I'm like, oh, do I? I am very cool.
Go way back.
Very cool. What it did for me mentally to have that goal and to have that community too is the other thing that I think is interesting about exercise, is that it also brings community, which is such a big part of your mental health. So like Kristin, what kind of communities do you see really work built up around exercise?
I completely agree with you on the 2 points that you made. One is the mind-body connection. And that's what we talk about often in yoga, Pilates, even, when you're mindfully walking or running, about connecting your mind and your body and staying really present. And that's so good for your physical and your mental state. And then when you connect with yourself, it's easier to connect with others, and you connect with others on the things that you're very passionate about. So I've definitely found, I ran my first marathon ever in April in London.
Congratulations.
And it was on my wow. So I was like, I'm going to hit a certain, and that was kind of a similar, doing something for myself after going through a really arduous, 3-year divorce that was mentally and physically exhausting. And so I'm like, let's just exhaust myself even more by running 26.2 miles. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But it was like one of these things and ways for me to test my strength and prove to myself that I can get through hard things. And so I think the run clubs were very important to me during that time, finding someone to run with, having a run buddy, because I'm definitely not going to go to Central Park and run 10 miles on my own. So I had a colleague who had also worked at Peloton, and she had left. And so she and I would meet in Central Park, and she would be kind of my motivator. And she had run marathons in the past, or every time I posted on my social media, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just ran X amount of miles, I'd have a lot of support and a lot of people saying, yes, you got this, you can do it. I knew people were going to be following me along the race. I didn't realize that people can look at your number and see where you are as you're running, but I'm like, dang, people are counting on me to finish this marathon. I'm going to do it. So I think that's where it's really helpful to have the community. And then I've noticed since I've been away from Peloton and I'm back in person at some studios locally, being with people in a yoga studio is super nice. People love that connection. You're with each other. You're all breathing together. I love to give the hands-on adjustments. I think there's just something really special now, especially after COVID.
I think that I'm such a true Gen Xer that I have almost the opposite reaction to being together. I take my time as the time that I'm alone. Not that I discount any of that community stuff. All of that sounds really, really lovely. But it feels like a treat to me now. The time when and in fact, I hate it when somebody texts me if I'm out working out. I don't want to hear work email ding in my ear. I take that time to listen to podcasts and read. Well, I call it. I listen to books. It's where I don't have time to sit down and read a book anymore because I've got full-time job, a side job. Now I'm doing podcasts on the weekends. There's no time. So that is where I find that the solitude. I don't have a lot of that in my life in general.
Yeah. But that's nice too, I think.
Yeah. Well, it shows how elastic this need is, right? It's, it can conform to whatever your mental health needs are. If your mental health needs are time for yourself, then it's that walk. If it's community, then it's the yoga class. If it's feeling like you're part of something bigger, it's the
Peloton.
It's something like Peloton or something like the Kristin McGee movement or something these what I really like about that kind of thing is that it's not just being with people, it's that motivation and encouragement, because I need that. Like I'm someone, as you can probably tell, who needs that encouragement.
And I think knowing that about yourself, like what kind of person you are, should also factor into like, what can I do for myself? If it's like Scott, who, needs a community, or like Kristin, who needs a community, like, great, like take your community where you can and get it there, get the support, get the friendship.
But do you ever include your kids?
Yes, I don't know if you hear them running around in the background.
We hear them. We welcome it. We welcome the crazy boys, the crazy McGee boys.
I did a lot, especially when they were younger. They would do a lot of mommy and me yoga, and I would do a lot of yoga and meditation with them. I feel like now that they're really interested in their own sports, like Timothy loves to ski, Robert's into soccer and like Ninja Warrior type stuff. William loves to golf and play tennis. So I feel like now that they're really focused on their own individual sports, it's less of a need of me sitting and doing yoga with them. But I always try and remind them of the benefits that yoga can even help with their sports that they're doing.
For sure.
And just tie in the whole mental, physical aspect of everything.
Yeah, it is a way to connect with your kids. I find like I started doing the strength, like doing the lifting and, but with just free weights. And my son saw it and he's like, I want to be ripped. I'm like, I'd love for you to be ripped too. So he got next to me and he grabbed one and I grabbed one and we're both curling. And then after 2 seconds, he got bored and went back to playing with Legos. But still for a few seconds, we were like lifting buddies. Yep. And then I'm like, hey, spot me. And I guess having your 10-year-old spot you was a good way to die, but still like,
that would be a big fail.
That's not a good idea. It's nice to physically connect with your kids. It's like you're always looking for ways to feel a little bit like to actively feel close to your kids and not feel like you're all in your corners on your phones especially with single parents. It's so easy to go into your, that's your babysitter, which, I don't say derogatively at all. Because we need it.
I hear you. But you're right. There's also a space that you feel more open. Like I notice my boys, when we all go on a hike together, they open up a little bit more. If you're in the backyard, kicking a soccer ball with them, that's when they're like, oh, hey, Mom, did I tell you X, Y, and Z? And it's like, when I just ask them when they come home from school, hey, how was your day? What did you do? It's like radio silence, But then when you're out there, you're right, physically doing something with them, it kind of opens up this communication, which is great. And lead by example is so true, because I would sit and meditate all the time. Yeah. And every now and then, like, I notice I'll open my eyes and there's like a kid sitting there next to me, trying to like meditate with me, which is super cute.
It is. When I started like our walking journey, to call it something that a word I would never use, but that it really what it was. We just started out with like I know that the 10,000 steps things has been debunked as a marketing thing in Japan, but like that was a great marker for me to like get a certain amount in. So like our kids heard us talking about like how far we were walking, and like we would get competitive, my ex-husband and I, with each other, and like we'll still like send each other like, look, I got 30,000, I got 8 miles today, I got 10, and which is fun. But our kids just like it absorbed that being around us, and we've never really forced them to do anything that they didn't really want to do. Like we would make them try things, and if they didn't want to do it, it's fine. But this has been something that my daughter would be like, oh, I didn't. She works at a doggy daycare, and like she loves that now. Part of that is like she gets to walk the dogs, which for her is fun. And she'll come back and be like, oh, look how many steps I got today, which like. I'm so glad that for her, just being out and being active has become a part of her, just her normal state of being, which as, when I was a kid, like I lived in the suburbs, we drove everywhere as a teen. Like I couldn't tell you when I was active or when I was not, but, getting that time to be interested in it. And then, like you said, we walked to the movies, like it was a 1.5 mile walk last night to get to the movies that we went to. And it wasn't even a thought for her or I when we said like, okay, well, movie starts at 8:15, like let's get out of here by 7 whatever, because it's the normal thing is for us to like walk and get there. And on the way, like there was great conversation, and the way that I think some people in the suburbs who like have kids and talk in the car because it's easier to talk when you're not looking at each other sometimes as teens. We have that same thing like when we'll walk, and I love when they want to walk with me. It's just the most wonderful thing.
I just love how we're talking about like, all the different ways that it does bring community to you, even to Loner Lily. It does sometimes bring community.
There you go.
But it is funny. I find that like it is so hard to get things out of your kids sometimes. You know, it's so hard, especially as they get older, but to see how they're thinking and they don't want to talk to you. Exercise, whatever form it takes, it's this kind of back door in. And like with my son, it's, I'm coaching his baseball team for the first time I've ever coached anything. And the only reason I can like throw the ball around is because I've been working out and following Kristin's yoga for the past year. So, anyone who wants to throw a baseball over the age of 40, Kristin's got your back. Do some yoga. I cannot, and it's not a joke, really, like night and day. I could not even lift my arm above my head like 4 years ago. Wow. My back was so bad. I started doing this working out, and then now I'm throwing balls into the outfield. Like I'm awesome. Only getting older. Like, I'm crazy. Like, I'm like 80 years old.
Yeah, you're pushing. But, it's a filter, Kristin, just so you don't feel bad about
by the way,
yourself.
you're looking at a great filter right here. You take the filter away and it's Abe Vigoda. Like, that's what happens when you take the filter away.
That's so funny.
But doing that with him, like, I've gotten so much through that back door. It's such a great kind of communication thing with him. And he tells me these things, and it's a way to, because I find as a single parent, sometimes you feel like you're closer to your kid and far from your kids at the same time. Like,
that's interesting.
Well, I think it's part of it. You're closer to your kid because it's, it's you guys against the world. But I sometimes feel like further in that there's a part of their life now that I'm not a part of, which is their relationship with your co-parent. And that is distancing. And you didn't have that when you were just one group. You now have this distancing thing that can be a little intimidating and be a little sad.
I was going to say it's a little sad.
Yeah. But it's just there for all of us, that are actively co-parenting. And so having these little ins and being able to like throw a ball around and hear about something, it's like, it strengthens. Yeah. And it makes it feel a little less distant, considering it's a sad thing to say, but you are cut out a little bit of a part of their life that you wouldn't have been if you were all still together.
Well, let me reframe for you, Scott.
Please. I love this every time Lili reframes for me, because I think of things one way. Lily's like, let's think about this positively.
Well,
let's think about this in a positive way.
And I'm not like that kind of like, toxic positivity person, but like I do get jealous like when my kids do things with their dad that are special. Like movies are the thing with him. Like it's been since they were little, but finding something that is just yours, like can build that same thing for you. So, whatever he does with his mom, he does with his mom, and that's like special for them. And it's probably something they hold on to. And like being able to throw a baseball, like you're coaching his baseball team. She's not. That's super special that you'll have, and she doesn't. And like, not that
she comes to the games. She comes to the games.
Good.
And it's like, it's still, I've actually found that it's a unifier.
Great.
For the three of us. We don't always unify.
I love that. That makes me so happy to hear that. So fitness brings people together. It really does in so many ways.
I've spent the past year kind of amazed, because at this point in my life, and I think this is, I know part of what you do, Kristin, when you're especially dealing with your clients that are maybe over 40 or, hitting, especially that, the body change, the hormonal change that women go through. Like,
you can say menopause. It's okay, Scott. Perimenopause and menopause.
Well, I'm not,
okay.
Perimenopause.
We have uteruses too.
Yes. So,
I feel like even men have a similar like shift, like you were saying. I think all men and women get this weird things just start to change. You're right.
But I was really surprised at how I was able to start this up at this point. That it wasn't like, sometimes you feel like, well, if I hadn't been doing it my whole life, like there's John Irving is one of my favorite authors, and he writes about wrestling all the time and weightlifting. And he says in his books, he's like, you have to get obsessed and stay obsessed when you're young, and that's how you do it. And that was stuck in my head for so long, that if I'm not obsessed at a young age, I won't be able to keep doing it. And it's been amazing how that's not true. Like,
and I'll say, like, what you can do at an older age should change too. Like for me, like the kind of workouts I would do when I was younger, not only can I not do them now as well, but what my body needs is different.
Yes. And being able to adapt to that and listen to your body and, find that somatic form of exercise where you're really into your body and listening to what it needs and responding to it is so important. But like, yes, there are things that you've done as a kid that can have positive benefits later in life. I know even like my wrestling, I have a student who was a wrestler as a kid and in high school. And he's really good at doing yoga. He's good at stretching because in wrestling, they were taught to stretch. Not a lot of other sports they incorporated in. But I also do find that people can make these huge comebacks later in life, starting at zero. People who've never ran, who can then all of a sudden start to find a love of running, or people who start doing yoga later in life or strength training later in life, because they find out that after 40, you do start to lose muscle mass, and it's important to keep that strength. Now, I definitely think that there's so many shades of gray. And for single parents to really take it as a time for yourself, whether it's with community or by yourself or with your kids, but make sure you put that into your schedule like you would schedule anything else, because the benefits are just so amazing, like we've been talking about, that you really owe it to yourself and I think your children or child, because you become a much better parent.
Well, and I'd like to know, like, first, those of us who are natural sleepers, I think you're absolutely right. Like, you have to schedule it in. But where do you, like, what is your advice about, like, when your day is packed, like from the time you get up until you've got the dishes in the dishwasher at the end of the night? Like, what do you advise people to do to, like, modify or to make time? Or, like, are there specific things that you tell people to do?
Well, even if you start small and you say, I'm going to dedicate 2 or 3 days a week, that's not so overwhelming. And you literally put it in your calendar. You are going to set a timer if it's going to be right after lunch, because that's your 30-minute window that you want to do some movement, or right before lunch, or right before the end of the day before you transition to your home. Or if you can wake up early enough to, maybe it's a 30-minute walk commute home, or it's your 20 minutes of yoga first thing in the morning, or even 10 minutes of chair yoga at work, to just get into the habit of moving more often. Then those 2 or 3 days become, maybe 4 or 5 days, because you start to feel that snowball effect of just how good you feel when you're moving your body. So I think you start with like bite-sized pieces, and you don't go, I'm not going to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning and run 5 miles if I've never ran before. For me, when I started running the marathon, it was 2 days a week and then 1 day on the weekend. And I started very slow. It was nothing huge. That's what I think I always love to tell people. Like, even with my strength training, I lift heavy a couple times a week, but it maybe takes me 10 or 15 minutes max. I just get the heavy weights out, do a tiny warm up, do my routine, and I'm done. So I think people need to realize that it doesn't have to be these huge, long, formal things, that it can be, 20 minutes, 3 times a week to start. Yeah. And then you just build from there. You're not going to like completely change your diet overnight. You're going to start to incorporate more vegetables and then start to drink more water. It's just these little baby steps. Yeah. Like we do with our children, right? We do the same thing with our children. We don't expect them overnight to just start doing something differently. It's just a practice.
And that's something I've thought about. Like, food is important, obviously, as you mentioned, and like being able to eat nutritiously. Like, when I'm alone as a single parent, I think that it's okay for me just to have like cheese and crackers for dinner, which I try not to do, because the way that I've made myself start to think about it is like, would you feed your toddler this? Like, when you were trying to like feed and grow your kid, is this something that you would give them? And it's a sad but helpful like thought about, treat yourself as well as you would have treated your kid.
Exactly.
I mean, it's interesting, like, I'm sure this is probably a whole separate conversation we can have about food, because like it's so interesting when you share. I mean, I don't share a ton of time. I have most of the time, but when I don't make anything for me. Like, I just graze and pick, because it's like, I cook for him. I don't cook for me, and I just eat the rest of what he didn't eat. And when I'm by myself, at that point, I'm like, I'm eating salami for dinner, or I'm eating, whatever it is. Like, it's, it's so horribly unhealthy for me. But it's like, how do you manage that? Like, how do you treat yourself with as much care as you treat your kids? It's like, it's almost like I'm so busy being a caretaker that when I get a break from it, I don't even want to care for anyone, including myself.
That's a tough one, because it is like the silly oxygen mask quote. I notice, like, if I don't prioritize myself first thing, if I don't do my meditation regularly, like I've been consistent with, and then eat my healthy breakfast, and then cuddle with my boys, wake them up, make their lunches, get them ready for school, do their whole thing. I'm never going to be as good a mom. Like if I just wake up and I'm like, the first thing I do is like go attend to whatever they need, then I lose myself. So that's why it's so important to me to just prioritize like giving myself what feels so good for me. And I know that it's my meditation practice. I know that it's yoga. I know it's breakfast. I love breakfast. It's my favorite meal of the day. And so if I make a lot of overnight oats as a single parent, it's so easy to find healthy alternatives that you can like make your oats at night in 2 seconds, eat it in the morning. And I put protein powder in mine. So you get the protein and the carbs and you're set for the day. Having those like healthy go-to meals or snacks on hand. Sometimes I do rely on a meal delivery service for salads, this amazing company called Sakara. It's a little expensive, but it's all organic and it's delicious. And I look forward to it because I know I'm not going to always, have time to eat a really good healthy lunch. So I'll rely on those little things that can really help out. With my boys and dinner, that's a tricky one because I do find that like as much as I try and get them to eat the foods I'm eating and the healthier foods, they still love the chicken nuggets. And so if I'm going to air fry some chicken nuggets and fries for them, then that's when I might again rely on that healthy meal delivery service, or I cook like banza pasta with some flaked salmon and sauce. And it's really quick to put it together, but it's healthier than salami or cheese and crackers.
Yeah, I know. We're both Lily and I we're chastised. We'll do better.
No, I don't feel,
I'm kidding.
I feel like again, with forgiveness, not every meal should be salami alone. I know you're not the cooker, Scott, but one of the things I did this week, I don't know, like there's a Baked by Melissa has this green goddess salad. Like, I don't know if it had some like internet virality over the summer, but like I modify that and like I prepped everything for it. And then I put it in a giant container so that like over the week, you just like take out like the right amount of it for dinner or the right amount that actually even takes, half an hour or whatever it is to prep that huge thing.
Great.
But I think for Scott, like a hot dip, like you can do all of that ahead of time.
What I find interesting about like having to be a single parent for me is that I am not an organized person. I never was an organized person. And now suddenly I have to be an organized person.
Super organized. Yes.
Yeah, you just don't have a choice.
Very true.
What I ended up doing was I ended up prioritizing what I organize. And so I organize things for my son and make sure all his that. And, once again, I'd make the same mistake, the same oxygen mask mistake, even beyond just treating yourself well. It's also, if you're organizing your week, if you organize your week, you're going to be able to organize their week
their week better. Exactly.
But what I actually thought was really interesting as both of you were talking is something that I think is so important to a single parent, especially, is that sense of something to look forward to, that sense of having these small wins and small pleasures. And, it's true for everybody, but I think we feel so overwhelmed, especially I know, Kristin, you have, I think full-time care of your kids, like I do. And so, that there's often that crushing feel of like, that Groundhog Day of like, when do I get when do I get me? And I'm great. It's so great that you're able to carve out your time in the morning.
No, that happened to me this morning. I woke up to meditate and, my cat is on a schedule with me and always like wakes up and like knows I'm going to feed him right when I wake up to meditate. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, oh good, I get to go sit and meditate. And then I was like, oh, I got to feed the cat. It was almost like this, like, it takes no time for me to open up, but it was like that one more chore to do. I'm like, oh, I have to feed the cat, like I love Lucky. I love you to death. But it was just like, it hit me all of a sudden, like that groundhog moment, like you're saying, it's like, oh, it's like one more checklist of things to do. So it's like, that's why there's this quote that it's like, if you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, then meditate for an hour. It's like
that's great.
Something to that extent where it's like, you don't think you have 5 minutes, you should be then meditating for an hour, because it's like that meditation is what's going to actually organize you. Like you were saying, in a way that it's just so funny. It's like, you're more efficient, you're more productive.
Yeah.
You're that exercise, that 20 minutes or that walk that you take in the morning, just gives you so much more energy for your day.
I don't always think about how fitness and exercise was also feeding that need of something to look forward to, especially if you can tie it into community, because it can be that, whether it's the community of yourself or whether it's that walk with a friend or whether it's what I do with my girlfriend where it's like 9 a.m. we'll each get on and we'll do the same Peloton thing at the same
together.
time.
That's fun.
Cute.
And and then, we'll have our thing in and, I'm like, are you really doing it? Because I've done it with her in person and I've noticed she spends about half the time on her phone. And I'm like, are you really? I'm like, she does it every day. So I guess I can't fault her. Like she has a streak of 3 years straight.
Wow.
Of every single day. So I'm like,
I love that.
I got to keep up. I do it 3 times a week and I'm a slacker. So, I got to keep up. But she loves it. And what she loves is the validation. She loves the community. She loves when an instructor shouts her out because it makes her feel like, it's something to look forward to and feel accomplished.
Did she never get sick? Like not in 3 years. That's the thing that happens to me.
She's from East Germany, so
different.
she is stronger than all of us put together.
I love it.
She's dealt with the Stasi.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I think that's another question that I have is like, when things in the past, like when I've fallen off my routine, it's because of something that's beyond my control. I am not an East German who can power through COVID or whatever it might be, and that will often be something that totally derails me. I'm like, well, and as we were talking about at the top here, Scott, you didn't do your one day. That doesn't mean it's
Sure.
forever. But what is how do you manage that? Getting over that mental hurdle of I was sick for a week and I didn't work out. What do you do?
Well, I think it's a similar thing. I was running consistently before the marathon and then the marathon came and now my running went. It's gone. It's out the door, and I'm like, I really need to get back into this running routine or at least more cardio because I could do Pilates and yoga and strength till I love it. But I like to walk, but to actually do a little bit of something that really gets my heart rate up is not my first thing I pick.
Yeah.
So to get back into it, I just made this, I just did 1 mile yesterday with my boys and I'm like, okay, we're just going to start very slowly again. It's you don't go from 0 to 100 after you've been sick for a week. You might just pick up slowly until you get back up to where you were, or you give yourself that grace period, to gently get back into where you were. So for me, I think, similar to having, Scott can't relate, but you can relate, Lily, similar to having children. It took you 10 months to grow a baby.
Yeah.
You're not going to bounce back into whatever you were in a month, or it took me 2 years after having my twins to literally get back to where I felt really comfortable in my body and physically fit again I didn't really care if I looked the same or fit into the same pair of jeans, but I just wanted to feel strong in my core and feel stronger in my body and cardiovascularly even. So I think we just need to remind ourselves that, time is on our side. We need to be patient with ourselves. And really is no destination. This is just a journey of us trying to continue to feel better.
No, that's great advice. Yeah. So we'll wrap it up here then. But Kristin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This was great conversation.
It's so helpful.
I know.
Oh, I hope so.
No, really, you have so many great insights and this was really helpful and just a great conversation. And I think
it's so nice to talk to you. I would love to do this again. This is fun.
I think next time we bring you on to talk food, because we got some food conversations.
Oh my gosh, I'll even show you little mini meals that I make. And...
Oh, Jesus.
Great. Scott needs it.
No. Lily's I'm Persian. I know food, but Scott needs it. But anything you want to plug or talk about? I know you've got the Kristin McGee movement.
Yeah, my website is Kristin McGee Movement, and I'm working on building that community. I have Substack, which is also just Kristin McGee, and I share newsletters and insights and blogs and recipes and fitness tips and little meditations. And then my Instagram is Kristin McGee.
Yeah, you have great Instagram. I love your Instagram.
You. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I love how you kind of meld the fitness with the parenting, and I think for our audience especially, it's a great place for you guys to go check out. It's a really, really nice place to visit.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Lily, any last thoughts besides making fun of my cooking?
No, but I have my leggings on because I did not do my walk earlier. I planned on doing it immediately after we're done.
Good.
I'm going to go sit down. I'm sitting down and doing my cardio right now.
Okay.
We're doing it.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like or a crazy comment. We'd love to hear from you, and see you again soon.